Assalamu alaikum, all the viewers. As in last week, we've done a program with Mr. Mohsen Qureshi, as in British youth mindset. This is our program's name is. We done last week program. Uh, this week we have a subject which is few people did really ask us to choose the subject. The uh, the marriages like arranged marriage and the love marriage and the all the youth who actually getting marriages. So we're going to talk about that subject. But before we do that, what I'm really going to ask Mr. Mohsen Qureshi to recap the last week we have the discussion and we left it on the note. So I just really want
Yeah.
people who really watching us to understand how do we started this discussion. And initially, some of these subjects we spoken previously, they might come into kind of again into this discussion.
Yeah.
But I just really want Mr. Mosens to really actually talk about that discussion, the discussion we had last week, give all the coverage what we did, and then we'll go from further down. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Fahim. I just want to start as well by saying thank you to everyone for watching last week. We've had a lot of positive feedback, a lot of encouraging words, and it seems that I did say to a lot of people as well, even though I'm here, it is a program for everyone. Please do have your input. Do contact me. I'm here to share our view as British-born Asians and whatever concerns and issues we have. I'm more than happy to put them ahead. There were a couple of things Fahim asked me from last week, which I looked into, and it was in regards to children who are struggling a bit in the school environment. And each school, especially in the mainstream schools, they have teachers or people working in a position called SENCO, and these are special education needs coordinators. So even if it's something that you notice or the teacher may notice, they can contact and speak to them, and that is direct via the school. So it could be something from maybe reading difficulties or even speech therapy. So if they're struggling to get their words out and they may need some support, it might just be getting a teaching assistant in the class to maybe more one-to-one work, smaller class sizes. So there will be somebody in your school. So if your teacher doesn't recognize, you can always contact the school if you have any issues or concerns and let them maybe monitor and observe it at first hand. The other thing I'll say is, as a British Asian community as well, we should be more involved with the schools. When you go to your parents' evening meetings, if you have any review meetings, any concerns you do have, if it's going to benefit the child or you think there might be something there, you should be getting in contact with them and raising that. For today's topic, we did speak briefly, me and Fahim, at the end of last week, and we thought it'll be really good to be a show because it may lead on to other things, and that's the topic of marriages. Because I think there is a lot of difference between our generation, how we think and feel, and how the elder generation do. There's a cultural divide and there's a large age difference as well. So we spoke a bit about the differences last week, where we've been born and raised here, where I feel we've had to embrace both cultures, which is the Pakistani culture and the British one, being first generation. And for me, an arranged marriage is something, I'll give one of my friends example. So the process was his family spoke to him and said, we have somebody here, if you'd be interested.
Mohsen, I'm just interrupting you. Sorry
Go
about
ahead.
that.
No, go ahead.
What I'm really wants to go with it, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm thinking, what do you think? I know we're going to look all the prospects about it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a point of view. So what do you think about the arranged marriage
Mm-hmm.
and as comparing the love marriage? So I know you before we really off studio we were talking about. Obviously, you have a different experience. Some people have a very bad experience. Some people have a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
So really, we want to talk about that. So first, if you really want to start, where do you stand yourself? I know you kind of have a split view on that. So let's start with that.
Yeah. So with myself, I've seen success and failure in both kinds of marriage. I've seen people who have been married arranged and it's been brilliant, and some have had, but some others have had issues and challenges with it. And I've seen people who've married love marriage or own choice marriage, and that's been a great success. But sometimes that hasn't worked. So for me, I'm split really much down the middle, and I think my take from all the experiences, good and bad, has been that it just comes down to the two individuals who are involved, whether it was arranged or own choice. There's pros and cons to both. But my view is, I think a lot of people, they're happy to do either, because it's really hard to even find a person this day and age. You'll go to work, you'll come home from work, you're home with family. How can you go out and find someone? So to have your family support, for them to look out, or even friends to recommend people, it helps and it comes a long way, because not everyone is in a position where they're able to find people within their culture or their requirements when you're at work all day, every day. But I think
my question, it does raise in there, right? Like you, the way you put it across, right? Okay. In normal, as in you're talking about, because we're living in UK, and the British scenario is normally the youth in terms they're courting with each other. They might go to the local public houses and these type of places, and they meet, might be whichever nightclubs, wherever they meet. Initially, they like each other, and then they get into the relationship, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And what I really find with that, I might be wrong. I just really want your opinion on that, because I have slightly different way of looking things. I find that any relationship like that, it does not losing for a long time, even 2 years, sometime if they drop lucky 5 years. Even in that relationship with the 5 years, you find they might have a children in between it, but then they come in a separate way, which is really, to me, basically that type of a marriage, because you always choose on your personal preferences. There's not much of family involved in there when you look at an Asian prospect, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So a relationship really have everything is suits me kind of a thing. It suits me, it doesn't suit me. It's always look after number one, and that's yourself, right? Okay. But when you come to the Asian marriage things, I'm gonna bring you in there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
At least when the two people, which is the arranged marriage, they get married with the arranged circumstances, most of the time it probably doesn't work. But then because the family really want you to be carry on, and sometimes always any relationship, if you don't see each other, you don't go live together, there is something we call give and take, right? Okay. And I find being arranged marriage, sometimes you find that give and take, it does really work you to get carry on with your relationship. At the same time, people thinking, oh, why you stay in a relationship where you're not happy with it? But as in you go along, you really get used to it. It's like I find loads of people who broken with one relationship, they go into the new relationship, they always thinking about the previous one, or some probably not thinking the previous one, they're thinking the new one. So this is the way I am looking at it. So I'll bring you into it. So you want to put a prospect in your mind.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to try and establish is, because I know we have a lot of viewers who may not even know what arranged marriage is, because we've got viewers now who I spoke to from the first show, which are from our communities and cultures. But I think everyone has, if you speak to a non-Asian person and you mention arranged marriage, they always get taken back a bit, because when what the media has portrayed, or what people's perception is, that is it arranged or is it forced? Because there's some grey areas where it potentially is forced, and that's why it's become an issue within the community. And I feel it's something that's not very much spoke about. I'll come back to that. I'll just recap on the question you asked. So if they are meeting out and about, I don't necessarily think it's going to be in nightclubs and things. I think it's more so whether it's from school settings, they met at university, they may be work colleagues or former work colleagues, or a lot of the times it is introductions. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and act as if people don't meet in clubs or they go to shisha bars and places and things like that. But the reason why I think them type of marriages don't last is because they don't know what they're looking for. When it's a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, it's very different to a husband and wife relationship. So the boyfriend, girlfriend, they may go out to meals every week and there's other friends and they may dress a certain way and there's nobody else involved and not much responsibility. It's all chilling, it's all freedom. But once the marriage side comes into it, it's a totally different ballgame. You're living in the same roof. You might see each other's bad habits, which you don't normally see. Because if you're only going to interact over the phone or meet up once a week, you're only getting an image of that person within them few hours you're around them. But living under the same room as a person, under the same roof as a person, that's when I think a lot of it, they probably start thinking, oh, she didn't used to be like this, he didn't used to be like this. And that false maybe image of, oh, how brilliant everything is, how nice it is, and how much freedom, once that responsibility comes, I think that's where these marriages fail, because they're not serious, they don't know what they expect from a marriage. So my main point on that is boyfriend-girlfriend relationship is totally different to a husband and wife one. And I just want to touch on when it comes to the arranged side, if I can. So one of the examples that I was going to give before is my friend's example of an arranged marriage, which I thought was a positive one. So there was family involvement. They said to him, there's somebody, would you like to go and meet? So the families went. They all sat, spoke to each other a few times, and there was no pressure. They said, see what you think. They then further went and met another 4 or 5 times as families. So they got to know each other a bit. I think that's also important, that as long as it's in a controlled manner, if the parents are wanting involvement, you still have to give people time to get to know one another, because there's so many differences of opinions these days and different personalities that if it's not going to work in the first place, and you can see that, we shouldn't try to push it if we think it's not going to work. If the 2 people involved aren't happy, in the long term, it's never going to work. So after a short while, the families agreed, everybody was happy. A further 6 months down the line, that's when they started doing all the wedding ceremonies and things. I think where the elder community go wrong a bit is that when a person does say no, or when they are unhappy, because I've also come across circumstances through friends and even more recently when I've spoke to people where they were not happy wanting to marry of their family's choice, and they've made that clear. But unfortunately, within the culture, we seem to have this stigma where we're worried, oh, Bandeki Aksan, what are people going to say? I gave my word to my cousin in Pakistan or whatever it may be, and if we don't go ahead with it, they're going to be upset. So as youngsters, we want to keep our parents happy. We do want the ijazat, we do want them to be happy. And so you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. I really don't want to marry this person, but I don't want to let my parents down either. But one thing I will say is 99% of the time, if the person isn't happy going into it, that won't work either. So I think this is one of the things that older school generation need to understand, because they may get married, they may even go on to have a couple of kids, but they're never going to be happy. And then they will have mental health issues. And this is one of the other reasons divorce has increased so much, because one or the other going into the marriage were never happy in the first place. And they have tried to say no to their families. But it's a real shame that, unfortunately, because their families are too busy thinking about what people will say, their own child's opinions and thoughts and feelings, they haven't taken them into account. And in the end, them relationships which they had with their family members are broken down anyway, because the marriage wasn't a success. So my take from that is we could maybe avoid all that and maybe meet in the middle somewhere. Even if it is on choice, they should still be speaking to the family. The parents should still be meeting with one another, come to an agreement, see what they think. So I think it's about having that balance where, because we've come along a long way, where our parents' generation was, if their parents said you're marrying a certain person, there was no questions about it. The marriage was taking place. And to carry that mentality forward now and expect our generation to behave in the same, I think that's why a lot of it's failing.
Right. Mohsen, I just really, because I really want to prop that, because obviously there's a lot of relationship, as in you and I can see it. They are actually kind of arranged marriage.
Yeah.
They are quite running very well. And I've seen the loads of love marriages, like you saying, they have the understanding. They seem to be not losing very long, right? Okay. So there is still kind of a gray area I personally can see. which is we can really bring that debate when we have other people putting their opinion across.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, this is not just only one way thinking. I'm also trying to put the prospect of the elder generation, like for example, uh, a lot of family, like you're saying, they have a commitment and things like this. I
yeah.
think is kind of a big time change now, as in I understood majority of relations now, because as the time goes by, previously it was a stigma. Anybody who's come from Pakistan,
Mm,
they used to call the youth used to call them a mangi
yeah.
or mangeter or something like this. Like, okay,
We
and
still do.
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it's gone down a little bit.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
kind of another debate. You will find now a lot of mangis, you want to call it, or
Mm,
the mangete, even if the girls or the boys, right? Okay, they got obviously they got their foothold,
yeah.
and they have their point of view, and some of
Yeah.
them, you know why I'm saying that? Because anybody came from back home, I can understand because they does not speak English very well,
Mm,
don't understand the culture and everything else.
yeah.
But one thing I am definitely sure, unless it's changed now, anybody come from abroad, you know, the loyalty element. I can give you loads of examples I can
Mm,
see in front of my eyes. The loyalty example, especially, is a lot higher than any marriages here. Like,
mm,
for example, British society. I'm not trying to be kind of a critique of it, but that's the reality.
mm,
Uh, Over here, even if you see the British couples, as in I already mentioned, 2, 3 years down the line, they get bored with each other. Then they move on to it. And then fine, then they move on to another one. And initially, then they start comparing the first relationship, second or third. And sometimes there always goes back to the first one because the type of work I was doing, I seen a lot of people's gone through with 4, 5 relationships. They have the children, then they have the grandchildren. Now they're back again. They've gone through all the shops and everything else.
mm,
Initially, they come back to the same thing. So what I'm really saying to you is the human nature and the British way of thinking. Always look after number one, and that's yourself.
mm,
This is also a bigger factor in the relationship, right? Okay, which is not lasting long,
mm,
because I can understand people's always thinking from that point of view, and they don't want to carry on with the relationship. And especially saying that, I find I'm not trying to be taking the Asian boy side. I mean, probably people call me a Mangi. I've been here for last might be, why is it 35 years?
mm,
1986 when I came in this country, right? Okay. And I find both sides, at that time used to be any marriages happening back home, all the boys and the girls, they have a kind of a stigma in their, oh, they are mangis, they don't know what to do, what not to do. But then when they came in the relationship, I find them, the people who came from back home, they
mm.
stick by it. I'm just saying 99% cases, you find everywhere odd cases, uh,
Yeah.
they stick by it, and they're still living very happily. They have a children, get married, and everything else.
Fine by the thing is though, this was your generation.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
ones that came across, I agree with what you're saying, that they had that principle behind them that if we're getting married, we're in it for the long run, whether it's good or bad, we're going to work hard, we're going to work at it, we'll go through thick and thin. And I also agree with that with the modern generation born here. I don't know if you've heard the term of snowflake generation, because they're that soft, they're that brittle, anything that happens, they have that mentality of me, myself, and I. Look out for number one. There's no compromising, and being a person trying to find to settle down. And I've spoke to many other people in the community in a similar position. That is one of the main struggles we come across, where the expectations are unrealistic. They're wanting someone for who reads Namaz 5 times and go on 5 holidays a year and has his own house and a fancy car and the things that actually don't matter in marriage. So the perception seems to change where it's more material and selfishness. And so that I agree that with your generation and the people who came over from Pakistan, they have that about them where there's a bit more principle. And when it comes into terms of marriage, we need to work together, work hard. We may have our up or downs. What's most important, let's put that first and work through it. I agree. Where I disagree is that mindset, even with the people coming from over Pakistan, is different now. So whether it's here, born or raised in Britain, or whether it's born or raised in Pakistan, I think that has gone. There's very few and far in between who have that. And that's one of the other reasons where it doesn't seem to work as much.
You are experiencing the old school peoples was actually have that kind of a morality thing to stick by it. Any new marriages now, I don't know, because I'm not coming across many marriages. I do know, but not many marriages from kind of a back home. I went to loads of weddings now. They're now only getting married here within the UK and and things like this. But I find a lot of difficulty there as well. But this is yet to be seen. And I think that's got nothing to do with the marriage here or back home. Actually, the looking after number one, and that's yourself. And that's why really reflection on the relationship as well. Right. So basically, what you're really saying, the marriages now, because people come from abroad, that's what your experience is. I hope somebody can challenge that, because this is not my experience. I'm looking for my point of view.
My key point, Fameboy, my key point is that it doesn't matter whether they are from Pakistan raised, British raised. It comes down to the person's mentality and the mindset they have, because there's many people born and raised here, and me being one of them, is where we follow principle. And we believe if we're going to do something, we'll work hard, we'll try our best. We all have our ups and downs and we all have our flaws, but we'll try to do the right thing. Whether it's love marriage, own choice marriage, or arrange. Like I said, I've experienced success, or I've seen success, should I say, and failure in both. So mine comes down to the individuals. But I think where we could do better as a community is if somebody's not happy in the first place, or if you don't think it's going to work, we shouldn't be forcing them to it due to other cultural factors, where what will people say, or for family's sake, or things like that, because then I know it will fail. So there's a couple of things we've touched on, but that's one of the main things. Success and failure I've seen in both, but it comes down to the individuals. Are they wanting to make it work or not?
Right. Okay. So basically, at the moment, we're in the sitting dilemma. It is quite confusing at this moment, which is the best one, right? And later on, when we have a chance to involve some more people, we'll talk about it. Right. Okay. The other things, as in related with this, the majority of English marriages. Okay, we're Asian. We have our family baggage, family background, and we have kind of a family ties. Obviously, have a lot of English friends. And how do you see their relationship? Just do you think they are quite successful, or they have trouble?
I've seen many which have had a lot of success. There's a lot of people who've been married 25 years, 30 years plus, people in my previous job and current job. Again, maybe it's because it's a bit more of an old school mentality. I think the British one was fairly similar, because even some people in the royal family used to get arranged marriages. So culturally, as they've evolved, we're slowly moving in a similar direction. I do get what you mean in the sense of where they may change to multiple partners and go from one to another. But again, that's up to them. That's their belief, or that's their culture. We not only have the culture, but we have religion, which tries to keep us more in the straight and narrow. Fair enough, we might make mistakes in life, but afterwards we might learn the hard way and realize, right, this is why this is wrong, or why we shouldn't do this and why we should do this. I think what helps the culture is having the family guidance and having that family support there. So if you are in circumstances or you do need guidance, the parents are there. I think where we go wrong, or where the British culture is better, is, or once a marriage has taken place, that they let them carry on with their lives. I think this is the other thing which causes issues and may cause marriages to break down, that in a Pakistani culture, unfortunately, everybody wants to get involved. Or if it's between them two people, they're going through a rough patch or it's just a disagreement, it should be up to them two people, or if they want to call their immediate family, to sit in a room, find out what their issue is, see if they can get a solution and move forward. I think where we go wrong is where a lot of relatives who it's nothing to do with will either try to stir up things and cause issues, or will try to, even prior to marriage, if people are engaged or if their rishta has been done and they're due to marry each other, people who are jealous, people who don't want to see others happy, or people who wanted their son or daughter to marry this person, they may start. So I think that's where the British population are much better than us, that they have that freedom there, in the sense of...
I understand. Obviously, over there is the decisions made by personal. Like the girl like the boy like the girl, right? Okay, and then family gets involved in there. In a kind of arranged marriage, you kind of arrange the marriage, right? Okay, and then you got to meet the girls, like you were saying. The scenario was you meet them a few times.
Yeah, the families go down and you can speak and ask any...
And then go further down, right? Okay, and it works both ways. Your family is happy, the girl's family is happy. As you saying, this is actually raised another question here. As you saying, because I can obviously witness Slav Asian culture, right? Okay, I find big numbers of even sometimes the girls, sometimes the boys. They don't find any partners for themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And what can they do then? This is really kind of a subject which is, when you're looking from certain point of view, fair enough. When you're looking in a bigger pictures, you find a lot of girls, they're not slightly pretty looking, or the boys are the same kind of situation. They never find, boys never find the girls in their life. The girls never find the boy in their life, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Then initially, obviously, their needs are there, and then they do anything and everything to job them around, or whatever you want to call it. At least I find with the arranged marriage things, the face looking, it does matter. Like people's kind of understand the family backgrounds and things like this. How do you look into that? Because obviously there's loads of other issue become part of the society issue when you're talking about. I know a lot of people here in UK. Most of you won't believe them girls. They don't find the Asian family. They don't find any boys here, or the same thing. The boys don't find any girls here, right? Okay, and then they never get married. And then initially, another problem start with it, because as every young man, you does have your needs and things like this. So what do you think, where we can really create a balance in there, and how when I say our program is just not the mindset, is called British Asian, because mainly majority of our viewers, they are British Asian. Obviously, there's a lot of English people are also watching, and somehow, sometime the English culture, it might be very attractive to us, but sometimes the English people have a lot of attraction towards our culture, because what I feel in Asian culture is a lot of give and take, because most of the family get involved, and I think the extra curriculum, it does really go out of the thing. What is your opinion on that?
I just want to say you made a really good point there, that if there's something from a different culture or something where someone's doing that we can learn from, we'll be silly not to try and implement it. Because if that's going to put us a step ahead or make our community better or resolve issues, then if there's an answer there, by all means, we should take it. The first part where it was more so people are struggling to find people, I don't think there's a shortage of people. There's plenty of people. The issue is what people are wanting and expecting. So there's one thing which is a preference. So for me, for example, my preference would be maybe to stay with parents after marriage, to have someone who acts a certain way, dress a certain way, If you want to work, by all means, go and work. Some people may have other preferences. I think where we go wrong is we mistake what our preference is to what we actually need. So I have preferences, but what I need will be something different. Where it goes wrong, or where the struggle increases, is that I can only give a male's perspective. I'm sure females will have other issues or complications they've come across when trying to find someone. Is that, again, what they're looking for isn't realistic. Some things take time. People seem to forget it's a partnership. If you're wanting a home, no problem, but it should be something you work on together, you build together, maybe put a deposit down together, rather than the expectation is, oh no, he should have his own house straight away. So there's loads of things like this which are stumbling blocks where our generation goes wrong, and this is what makes it a lot more difficult. I think another thing is from the older generation, so I'll try to keep a balance. I'll say one thing from the modern and one thing from the older generation which causes issues is the issue of caste. Me being born and raised here, as much as I know what my caste is, we don't really carry it around with us as much. I have friends from various castes. I know there's castes in Sikhism, in Hinduism. We all have castes. Some marriages do not go ahead due to them being a different caste. But the way we think of it from here is, asi Muslimana, even in Islam and in the Quran, as long as a person's a Muslim, you can marry. Even Muslim males can marry non-Muslim women. So if we can marry people outside of the religion, why is there an issue when somebody is also same religion, same ethnicity, but just because their caste is different? I think that seems to be a major stumbling block as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, because this is actually came from a brotherly system, which is quite shameful, but it's really pretty much existing in UK and a big time.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, our generation is still not grown with it. They're still really, really, even I can say there's a lot of people even become a member of parliament because of
they vote for the people who's the same caste as them, not because it's the best person for their job.
Yeah, because they have a stronger brotherly. It does needs to, when we're talking about British Asian, we need to look into that. Because we go further down, I'm still sticking to the point what I was making it. Mohsen, I can see you yourself. You are decent looking, smart looking.
Thank you.
I don't think you're going to have a problem, even if in any circumstances, finding a young lady for yourself. If you're really looking at an English prospect here, I think you miss that point, as an I understand. The way you're looking, it can be very ideal situation for you. I know a lot of lads, because I does have a lot of English friends, right? Okay. They're still not married. They're even decent looking, but odd things are really not gone into their favor.
But this was the point I was saying. It's because what people need for a marriage or what people want are two different things. And this is where I think it comes from the women's side and the men's side where we're going wrong. In order for us to get married, it's very quick and it's easy and it's simple. But once the conversations take place and the dialogue starts, you realize that the girl side may say no, but what they're wanting is something which isn't very much realistic, or something which happens in time. It takes time and effort, or it's something you can maybe build together. You're right in saying the attraction has to be there, but for someone like myself, character is one of the most important things. Because if you have a pretty face, but if in here and in here you're not a good person, or we're not on the same wavelength, then that attraction doesn't last anymore, does it? Because it's your personality that needs to shine through and take it a bit further.
I understand. What I'm really saying, that's okay, kind of ideal situation. If somebody is good looking, they'll always find a difficulty. You're talking about further down the line. Any relationship, doesn't matter how good looking somebody are, or the girl or the boy or anything else, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work because of something not really tingle, right? Okay. Still, my belief is the biggest drop in the British culture. To me, I have my opinion. People either agree to it or not. What you're saying, this is not happening because, like you just mentioned, you know a lot of your colleagues you work along, they've been in a relationship for 25, 30 years. Because it used to be English culture was the family oriented and they just look after it, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Now, to me, that culture was ideal because at least it does have a sense of responsibility. They does have their relationships to carry on with it.
Yeah.
They take all the pros and cons with it because it was a kind of a little give and take in there, right? Okay, which is I find now these days that give and take is really not there, uh,
Mm.
and this is actually the biggest decline to my mind because I'm Asian and I can see the both sides. There's a lot of bads in our
Mm.
system,
Yeah,
but there's
yeah.
a lot of good things in our system, right? Okay.
But Fame, we must be doing something wrong though, because when I was growing up, divorce in our culture and community was unheard of. But we look back, if we recap over the last 10 years, for me, getting into a marriage or seeing someone in a marriage is like a 50-50 now. Whether will it be successful and work or will it not? So
Right.
we're obviously there's something going wrong, isn't there?
Well, this is exactly I am saying to you. This is where the point is exactly the same thing, right? Okay. So something change in UK, regardless you're Asian or not, right? Is the I'm sorry, I'm not capitalist. I'm bit of socialist mind person, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So capitalist system actually draw everybody or anybody when you go grown up. First, when you grown up, you only think about what I'm saying, what you're going to do, how you're going to get to the girls, and what girls thinking how you're going to get to the men. The sense really doesn't come into there.
Yeah.
The sense doesn't come into there, but there are a lot of bad habits to come into there. You understand where I'm coming from?
Fine, but
Because
I understand where you're coming from, but I just want to touch on one of your first the points you just made there is that
okay,
I don't think it's us coming to the UK that's caused it or us being in the UK that's caused it.
no, I know, I'm agree. I'm not just really making that
We
point.
have, as a culture, we haven't adapted
Right.
because we've come here
Mm.
and the methods that were working 40, 50 years ago, where the parents would say to their children, this is who you're going to marry, and they'd be happy with it and they'll do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And
But
even now,
I'm
sorry, go
just giving your point because I'm just giving the example, right?
on.
Okay. Uh, I'm not talking about UK here because somehow in UK you find both of the cultures they are in quite strong. They're all existing in front of each other. Pros and cons are there. My family friends, my uncles, my dad's cousin, and everything else, they got married in the English girls, or the girls mainly is the men who got married with English girls.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's been donkeys. We never ever found about them. Where are they? Which world they really gone to? Right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then when because of their circumstances, when you're young, you gone, you do whatever you like. When they get a little bit, a kind of mature,
Sure. Yeah.
right? Okay, and they start missing because where they're belonging from. I'm not saying they're not belonging from the British society, but they
Mm.
start missing. And honestly, there's some of these stories that I know. It was really heartbreaking
Yeah.
because I found them peoples honestly. They're finding the no way. Uh,
Mm.
Especially, I find that in the European countries most, Canada, as in Holland, France, and things like this,
Mhm.
because our culture bounding is not very good. And I happens to be traveling quite part of the Europes, and they used to guys were saying we love to have come into UK
Mhm.
because they have their ties in there. So there is a lot of things which is really kind of a cultural shift. I think as time goes by, people start realizing it. I'm giving you another example. It was
Mhm.
really shocking to me. It can be a very odd one. One of my friends, I'm not mentioning the name, uh, husband and wife got married, get pregnant within 6 months, didn't work, right? They took the boy out. Means it was, I'm talking about a long time ago.
Yeah.
And okay, the relationship broken. The girl had a baby girl, right? Okay. And the boy obviously waited and then got married here again with somebody else, and then
Yeah.
have his marriage family and things like that. The girl who actually finished the relationship, I don't know if she got married or not, but I know the guy myself. It's just kind of a coincidence, or just remind me, because we are talking about open discussion kind of a
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
trying to probe different situation, different things, right? Okay. So he said to his brothers, actually told me, he says one day there was a 17 or 18-year-old girl knocking his door. He
Mhm.
opened it, and she says, "Oh, so and so, I'm not going to give the name, right?" And she says, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm your daughter." And
Mhm.
she grabbed him and cried. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what she said, the 18 years she lived with the mom, she doesn't want to talk about it,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And the girl still thinking, even the father's not even existing when she was 6 months old.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're 6 months old, how much memory you're going to have your father,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So the girl came to his home and they started meeting and things like that. What I'm really saying is, why I mention this, that's even in UK, and the girl actually grown into British. You never can forgive where you come from. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter
Yeah.
who your father is and things like this. And I personally think, the type of relationship we're talking about, that's my opinion. I'd be totally wrong. Because it's going so much, what it does suits me. I'm talking about the British society, which
Yeah.
is reflecting into the Asian society as well. I mean, it might
Yeah.
be happening even Pakistan or any other part of outside the world. They
No.
might
Yeah.
change, right? Okay. But what I'm really saying, there is a lot of consequences with it, and we still, you cannot decide which is good and which is bad. I've seen a lot of bad thing about. I'm just giving an example. I'm
Mhm.
not going to be shy about it. When I was young, before I got married, I was going out. Mm, I had no, but it never worked. It might be something wrong with me, but it's never worked. The relationship is always, the girl was expecting I'm going to be a total English type person,
Mm.
and I'm thinking the girl has to be taken a little bit Asian way and things like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but it never worked.
Yeah.
Then life is moves on. I'm talking about a long time ago. It's just when I came in this country, I was a very young person. It's
Mhm.
been nearly 30, sorry. So
Yeah.
it's a long time into my life gone. Everybody has their own experience, ups and downs out there, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we sitting living in the society, and I always feel, being Asian, we can choose very good habits in a British society. Is very human kind of society.
Yeah.
Very good, look after everybody kind of a thing.
Very progressive. We're fortunate that we do have a lot of things we're able to do. Yeah.
So it does really. I can tell you another story because it's really hitting
But
my head. Right?
the,
Okay.
the thing, Fame, can I just, sorry, you made some really good points, and it's coming back to what I was mentioning earlier when it comes to preference. So you have your preferences, and from your your youth, you realized that it wasn't for you. I think this is where it's made it a lot more complicated, because from the older, it used to be fairly simple. Now, because we've lived here, we've born and raised here, the expectations are different. Now everybody's working, everybody's a vehicle owner. Some people own property, some people own multiple properties, businesses. The mentality and the mindset's completely changed. So if our mothers, for example, were coming over and they were housewives and they just focused on raising us and they did a brilliant job, now the generation is different, because the females who were born and raised here, they're going out, they do good in their educations, they get good jobs. Their expectations are different. Their expectations are higher. They're not going to say, like, this is what I mean, where the generational mindset has changed. So where I feel we're going a bit wrong is where if we try to have the 40, 50 year ago approach to try and then say, this is who you're going to marry, and
No,
this.
no, I'm totally agree. I'm not saying what I'm really saying. Trying
No,
to
but
show
what I was
just
recapping
on
is it's
top. Yeah,
preference, isn't it? It's preference. So we can only do so much. It comes down to what the individual's preferences is and what they want out of the marriage. Some people, what they're wanting is unrealistic, and it just won't happen. But sometimes we can meet in the middle somewhere and we have that happy medium, then it's more likely to be successful moving forward.
But Mohsen, it's just a question to you, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Being an Asian man, Asian British man, right?
Mhm.
Do you, if you're in a relationship, whatever, I mean, obviously you don't, I don't want to go into that detail.
Mhm.
Do you want a lady you going out with, she can go do sleep with somebody else? I'm very open about it. Do you like it?
If I was in a relationship with someone and
Yeah.
they did that, no, of
Yeah.
course not. Of course not.
Right. Okay. Do you think in a British culture they liked it?
No, of course not.
Right. Okay. Why I'm saying that, because you see, this is kind of things which is really the standard is, right, when you're in a relationship, you have to be loyal with each other. It doesn't
100%.
matter.
But
You either
this is where your this is where your perception is, though. But because they're not all like that. And the
no,
thing
I'm just
is,
saying,
the
I'm
thing is,
just
our culture and community are
I'm bringing the story to you, right?
right.
Okay.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm not mentioning the name, right? Okay.
Mhm.
I have a cab company. I'm not been working as a cab driver anymore for the last 4 or 5 years, but I still have the cab company. Has
Yeah.
little bit to do with it, right? Okay. And when I was working, like if you're in a working scenario, all your customers who's like that and who's not. This is actually the part of your trade.
Mhm.
You know when you're working as a cab driver in a certain areas, you
Mhm.
pretty much know everything what's going on in the houses, because you hear so many stories, right? Okay. And I used to admire the couple, right? Every time they book taxis in the morning, evening, they're coming back home. Every time they very good looking couple. The girl is smart, the boy is smart, they both got very decent job. Everybody kind of a reasonable, lucrative job, which is makes life nice and easy and everything else. Right, okay. Nearly 7, 8 years they were together. And we, like as in anybody who you find anybody who's couple very nice. So we always used to admire them.
Mm.
This is kind of a couple. This is, oh, what a couple, right?
Yeah.
All the drivers who go pick them up, they were very polite, nice, this and that, right? Okay. I'm just saying, one night what happened? Uh, because we knew they used to have a booking. The husband or the boyfriend, who I don't know their marriage or not, but they were together for 7, 8 years, right? He canceled the taxi for 3 days because he says he's going down London, right? I'm talking about Leeds here, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So fair enough, we know cancels booking. Being bosses of the company, you know what's going on and things like this. Any booking cancels and things like this. You sit with the operators and things like this. Okay, because majority of them, the local customers, right? They don't realize we have a contract in the nighttime loads for the public houses,
Yeah. Yeah.
the restaurant. So there was a restaurant in somewhere in town center. That night I was working, and I seen that young lady, which is we always admire, with another chap.
Mhm.
Right? She doesn't recognize me because she knew me very well. Uh, right? Okay. She even
Yeah.
knew my name mainly because when I was running, I had very good kind of a relationship with the customers. Being owner of the company, you got to have that kind of a public service, and I always have, and I make sure I maintain that. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how I knew a lot of customer when I come across. So there was a restaurant call came, we went pick it up. There was that girl and one of his closest friend, who actually was a friend of his boyfriend,
Mm.
and they were sitting talking about and kissing and cuddling and all that business. Why I'm saying, because I'm talking about the English society, and I'm not talking about the other thing,
Mhm.
which is I'm kind of sitting in the car and I got shocked of it. Like you got kind of a gut smacked. and you're admiring the couple from bloody 7, 8 years, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you seeing they're having a go in back of my car, like taking everything off, kind of a things, really. Okay, so which is I am not very happy about it because you have the impression on that. You would hear to that story, then you understand. But anyhow, when the time comes, because one they're gonna come near our base, one is gonna go further down. So the one going further down, we dropped him first because we got the way around, and then I'm bringing my customer back home. When she finished with that gentleman, she recognized me, like she was too busy.
Yeah.
And I can see her face was really going down.
She got
Right.
embarrassed afterwards and she realized, yeah.
So I said to her, I said, look, I'm not mentioning the name again. I said, look, this is your life, right? Okay. Personally, I wasn't happy with it. I'm going to be very honest, right? But I actually said to her, as in kind of a professional person, I said, this is your life, whatever you do. My
Yeah.
lip field,
Yeah.
right? This is not going anywhere. That's between you and your husband or your boyfriend or whatever it is, right? Okay. So don't worry about it. She says, no, I want to talk to you. I said, look, don't talk to me now.
It's none of my business. It's nothing to do with me. And yeah, you carry on.
Don't talk to me. Plus, you've been drinking. You're an influence of drink. Go home. Don't worry about it. So dropped her phone, forgot about it. A little bit upset because something you have in your mind. Soon, actually, next day in the afternoon, I went to work. There was a job note for me. Soon I come to work. I'll go pick her up. So I understood last night. That's kept on her mind, right? Okay. So she really wants to explain herself. So I thought, bloody hell, what she's doing. She doesn't need to do that. It's not my job. What she do, who she goes and see.
Yeah.
I'm feeling why she's doing that. I don't need to do that. But anyhow, I went because obviously she specifically asked for me. So I went, picked her up, and she says to me, no, I want to tell you something. I said, what do you want to tell me? She says, I'll tell you, I love my husband like anything else. Right? Okay. And if he find out, believe me, my relationship is broken. So please, I said, look, I told you before, it's my lip sales, not even going to the drivers, because normally when the drivers sit together, they talk about surrounding the area, which customer, what. That's how we know all the gossip, right? Okay. So I realized it's kind of my duty. But she said, look, I still want to experience it. Go and explain to me. This is what she said. She says, look, we have been together. Life become a little bit boring, and I found the opportunity. And I took it. Now I'm regretting it. Right, okay. And I still love him to bits and everything. And their relationship still carry on. And I'm still have the burden to carry that things, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm really saying here, right? Okay. It's a lot of funny things happening in there. When society always giving you that privilege, look after yourself, your hunch, your feeling.
The thing is, bro, Fame Boy, this applies across all cultures now.
Yeah.
It's not, so I've worked nightlife industry as well. And believe you me, been there, done it and seen it all. And I can say the same things, if not 10 times worse, about Pakistani girls, boys, Indians. It's across the board now. So what used to be that difference and divide of, and I get what you're going to say about that loyalty, it non-existent anymore.
Okay.
I'm just going to say not non-existent, but it might have been a British thing, but not anymore. It's across all cultures. They all go out. They all go clubbing. We even had a deaf in one of the venues that I worked in. So where we worked, it was an Asian girl, a Pakistani Muslim girl. One of the group of guys that she was with, he went outside of the venue and he ended up sneaking drugs in, and the drug was MDMA. Because it was a really big venue, we used to have paramedics working on site. So as they were trying to leave, she couldn't even keep her head up. So the door security stopped and says, listen, she needs to get checked straight away. when they put the apparatus on her finger to check her heart rate and stuff, they called the ambulance. After a couple of hours, she passed away. Her mum and dad got a phone call. Her dad was Namazi type, beard, everything. Had to go to the hospital early hours of the morning and heard the fact that his daughter's passed away while drinking and taking drugs in a nightclub.
Yeah.
So we've all got 101 stories, and that's what the important thing I'm trying to say is it's not just a British culture thing or a different culture thing. It's common throughout them all now, unfortunately, and there's loads of other stories like that I could probably share as well.
Okay, so I'm agree with you. That's what.
Yeah.
So my whole point is there is some kind of decline in the British culture. Obviously, Asian getting affected by it as well, right? Okay, a culture. I'm still blame the capitalist system. Always look after number one. There is no much of give and take left, and I think this is about high time when
You
we
know-
talk about this type of discussion. Amy, right? Okay,
Mhm.
we need to really talk to the soul process of peoples. They really need to look into it. To me, the world is really like this coronavirus in reality. Uh, I think we're going to talk about it because I think we've got 56 minutes regarding this program, right? Okay. Which is with probably another 5, 6 minutes, we'll finish it. We try to conclude this session, right? Okay. The coronavirus can come in the society, and the capitalist system to me is going to be broke because even Europe's together, right? They lock the door up and everything else. But at the same time, we find people who are looking after the older peoples, and there's a lot of humanity, the give and takes coming in there. Because a lot of individual, there has got to be some kind of morality and principles somebody has to follow. If
Yeah.
you don't have that, your life is going kind of a down the line kind of a things. You probably, when you're young, you don't realize. When you get older, that's why I mentioned the uh, all my uncles, right? Okay, I'm not going to
Yeah.
mention names again, right? They lost, right?
Mhm.
And I see the pain on their head. And they lived that life for 30, 40 years. After
Yeah.
40 years, they come to that result. So I'm not going to, what's right and what's wrong. What I'm really saying in the society, with your discussion, like you explained, regardless Asian or British, the youth somehow, mm, when I talk about British Asian, I feel at the same time from the British youth as well, but I might be look like Asian, and I feel I might really can have a little dialogue with them. Then the English youth is a worrying sign, like you were saying. I personally think the whole purpose of our discussion, we try to bring a better value. It's easy,
Yeah.
the way society is going, and there's a lot of ill to it. We can get into that debate, but I think we need to do something positive like that. But obviously, only 2, 3 minutes left. I
Yeah.
really want you to conclude this program. Obviously, we'll carry on with this subject,
Yeah.
and even if some people who wants to put a question across
Yeah.
further down the line, we'll see to it. But go on, Mohsen.
Yeah. I think so. From my experiences, the main thing is that I've seen success and failure in both. I know arranged marriages and own choice marriages do work, but sometimes they don't. And I think what we need to do as a community and as a culture is learn from where things have gone right and learn from where things have gone wrong, because that's the only way we can try and progress. But I think the other thing is that as a newer generation, we need to keep a certain mindset that we have our preferences and there's things we want. But if we want a marriage and we want to make it work, there's more important things. Is this person going to be good to me? Is this person going to be loyal to me? Is this person, when times get tough, stand by my side? Not really, is this person driving a fancy car or does he own his own house? I think these are some of the main key points we need to bear in mind to make things work. But yeah, it's not an easy question. It's not an easy answer, and there's no easy solution. But by all means, if people have different experiences or a different opinion and point of view, we're more than welcome to sit and discuss it with them.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
Basically, we try to touch the difficulty coming into the society. Uh, Program is British Asian, and mainly we try to address the Asian youth at the same time. English youth have their point of view. There might be a lot of your English friends, they have their point of view. I like to hear it because, when you're looking from the out of your closet, somebody else looking in your closet,
Yeah.
they might have a bit more positive view on
Oh,
it.
of course.
And I do have a lot of examples like that of English friends. This is, we love your culture because you guys stick by each other and they
Yeah.
help each other, right? Okay, so there is something always there. I think this is obviously times is over. Normally, when we start talking, we totally forgot about the time.
Yeah.
I think it's the fasting time is coming as well. Now,
Yeah.
Mohsen, thank you very much to taking that part. For my viewers, basically, Mohsen is the host of this program. I am the co-host. Initially, in future, I'm going to tell Mohsen to take that the place for me. He can throw the questions to me, or might be some other guest. We do have a plan to bring some of the youth. They have a point of view, and
Yeah.
then we involve them into the discussion. So for that, later on, we will do that. I already told you he's the host, I'm the co-host. At the moment, I'm the host, he's the co-host. So tables are turning. We will talk about further down, and we'll try to conclude next week. Obviously, some of our friends who really watch that program, or anybody really puts the comments into it, I will ask Mohsen all the comments, you look into it, and if
Yeah.
you find anybody who really we can really help them to try to answer their question, we
Yeah.
should do that. For the in the end, keep watching Niadin TV. We also same time Niadin plus YouTube. This is going both places. We'll be asking all the guys subscribe Niadin at our YouTube channel. You can easily find, if you put it down Niadin TV, you will find it. So in future, even if you want to come in our program, you
Yeah.
can really link us as well, and then we'll do it. So for that, thank you very much. Mohsen, same again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Do next program, same day, might be slightly up and down, but
Yeah.
same evening. I will see you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.